been more than a decade since Nevadans approved the medicinal use of marijuana, and still the state has failed to come up with a means of dispensing it as the law provides. And now, some politicians, surprisingly on both sides of the aisle, are suggesting Nevada go a step further and legalize pot for adults. One candidate is making it the foundation of his campaign. Dr. Stephen Frye is running in the Democratic primary. He wants to legalize pot and create jobs from industrial hemp production. Can a pot-peddling politician, try saying that, be taken seriously? All right, Dr. Frye, you've been running on this platform before. We had you on the program a long time ago.
Correct.
You've been talking about it. Are you making any headway? Are people starting to listen?
I am getting an incredible response. I think people are finally fed up with the drug war. We have not had one single victory in it. You can get over an addiction. You never get over a conviction. That's the bottom line right there. People get into drugs, and the reason they get into drugs is because of the dealers. We have to end our drug war. We have to end our war on the environment with industrial hemp. We have to end our war on women. And all of these things I'm getting just a tremendous response on. It's blowing me away.
How many candidates in this country have been elected on a legalized pot platform?
I'm sure I would be the first.
But you know, I'm not going to portray you as a wacko or anything like that. You know why?
Right.
Let's look at how the polling has changed on this. A Gallup survey in October of 2011 asked a random sampling of more than 1,000 adults whether or not they think marijuana should be legalized. The survey found a record high 50% of Americans support the legalization of marijuana, while 46% are opposed to the idea. Dr. Frye, how mainstream this has become. In fact, it seems that both parties have been talking about this. A man before his time, a visionary you are, sir.
Thank you. You appreciate that. And marijuana is the safest recreational, over-the-counter, or prescription drug in history. Now, the DEA can shoot you, and you can get killed in prison, but those are not pharmacological deaths. And not only that, but crime goes way down when you legalize drugs, and other crime goes down because marijuana is a much better, safer, milder drug than alcohol. Our child abuse death rates, our rape rates, our crime rates are many, many times higher than the Netherlands and Portugal, where they've had legal drugs now for a long time. Alcohol is an inciting drug. Marijuana is a mellowing drug. There are so many benefits that I put in my book. I was a former medical school professor, a physician. I don't do drugs. I've done marijuana half a dozen times where I'm in places where it was legal. And if it were legal, I would have it instead of a glass of wine.
Never done it illegally?
I would, of course I have.
Okay.
Well, our last three presidents did it illegally.
Let's take a break. When we come back, and we'll talk about the argument law enforcement always brings up to stop the legalization, and that's that it's a gateway drug. I have a feeling Dr. Frye might pick up a chapter from his book and start reading it. Welcome back across Nevada to Face to Face. We're talking about legalizing marijuana. It's a topic that was once the province of the far left, but now it's going mainstream. It seems to me there is a different standard for people who are pot users as opposed to people who use alcohol. And almost every study has shown alcohol is a much more dangerous drug than marijuana, right?
It's incredible. And
but
not only that.
It's the stigma, though, that I'm talking about. That is the general stigma people have, that potheads are not responsible, they can't be productive members of society, right?
Our three former presidents smoke pot, so it's ridiculous. The two proven gateway drugs are alcohol and cigarettes. 3 independent studies by the World Health Organization, the British government, and the Institute of Medicine of the United States have all absolutely proven marijuana is not a gateway.
You don't believe that marijuana is a gateway drug
Absolutely
at all?
Not. The gateway is the dealer. See, once the dealer has the marijuana smoker, he then has to sell him something addictive in order to make him a more regular customer.
You know, it seems to me a better argument, and I think you make this argument too, even better than one, are how many people are incarcerated. You talk about the Metro making money off of it. How much it's costing taxpayers to house people busted for marijuana offenses.
The single biggest offenses for all drugs in the United States is simple marijuana possession. They would turn a taxpayer into a tax burden, and when he comes out, the only job he can get, John, is crime and selling drugs. That's how we have created our drug epidemic from Nixon's war on drugs. Because when they come out, they have to sell drugs to get crime, and then they sell to one person, then it becomes a multi-level marketing scheme. He has to sell to 2 others to support his habit. We have to end the whole thing, there's no question about it. Marijuana is not only a gateway, it's a terminus drug. Marijuana gets people off heroin, off meth, off cocaine. So marijuana is not off OxyContin all the time. That's how I got into this. I was a doctor in Northern California in the 90s. All the surgeons, orthopedics and neuro, had failed back operation patients. They'd done 2 or 3 operations. The patients were not going to ever get better with surgery. They didn't want to see them and write prescriptions for oxys and roxys. They sent them to me. Out of desperation, I researched the marijuana, found that it's an incredible medication, and it got people, in many cases, off or on dramatically reduced doses. So the idea that it's a gateway drug is propaganda. It is absolutely not a gateway. It doesn't cause cancer. It's an incredibly safe drug. It prevents and treats Alzheimer's. The medical benefits of this medication, this natural herb, are incredible.
You know, believe it or not, I've never smoked marijuana, but you're almost making me want to smoke it right now, sir. Taking actual positions on issues, I'm not used to this.
And that's why I want you to know that I can win.